All right. Good morning to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thanks so much for joining us wherever you're watching from. If you are, enjoying the show today, you know that every Saturday we try to make it a point to give you the goings on in pop culture in our segment known as This Week in Pop Culture. And of course, I will not be alone in talking about the said topics for today based on what happened over the past week. So, without further ado, I want to welcome my co-host, Spillman Trueheart, aka Spills. What's going on, sir?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back with effects. I feel like I'm back to my regular self, ladies and gentlemen. I had taken a couple weeks because we were doing remote stuff.
We were
I
doing
didn't
remote
have my
stuff.
full package, but I got my superpowers back. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're able to get your effects back, Spills. So, without further ado, let's hop into today's show. Unfortunately, I guess it's not necessarily a depressing show, but a bittersweet show. We could say a
It's spooky
bittersweet show
season, baby. It's spooky season.
because we had, unfortunately, a lot of passings that happened, over the course of this week. So I wanted to dive into that because many of the folks that we had, that passed this week, that are, from the world of entertainment, whatever facet that may be, whether it's in the world of sports, music, film and TV, the stage, theater, even. Um, they were, huge staples, in their respective fields. So, without further ado, let's dive in. The
Let's
first
get
one
it.
that I want to get into is Dikembe Mutumbo, of course. And in talking about Dikembe Mutombo, he unfortunately passed away over this past week due to brain cancer. And this is according to the NBA, the iconic ambassador of the sport. He was surrounded by his family, and just to give you just a idea of Mutombo's resume within the NBA as a Hall of Famer. 8-time All Star, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time All Defensive First Team, 3-time NBA blocks leader, 2-time NBA rebounding leader, and of course 2-time J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award winner as well. As I mentioned, just a moment ago, being a huge ambassador, of the sport of basketball. What are your thoughts, Spillman, of the legacy of Dikembe Mutombo?
Dikembe Mutombo, one of my favorite players of all time. One of the top five defensive players all time. You can't really take that from him. He's definitely of the Georgetown centers. He's probably the third best, but the best defender out of all of them, I would say. Um, you know, he had one of the most improbable comeback wins of all time, upset victories in the NBA as an 8 seed beating a 1 seed. Obviously the charity work he did was great, but we would be remiss. I, as a big man, as a shot blocker, you know my game. I love to block the shots, but the no not in my house.
Right,
Oh
right,
my
right.
God, ladies and gentlemen, that's all time. I think in sports parlance, that's like a top five taunt. They don't really have too many people that got taunts like that, but the no is just it's perfect, ladies and gentlemen. I can't think of too many more things that are up there with it. What are your thoughts on Matumbo?
I mean, just a couple of things. I mean, we could take a look right here, just with the eras that he was, playing in, playing in the eras with Michael Jordan and also, with his stint with Allen Iverson as well. And the fact that, it a lot of times there's so much attention paid, I feel, to offense and being, an offensive juggernaut, and it's not to sleep on that skill, because that is a necessary skill to be successful in basketball, is to be able to generate offense. But especially in today's game, I feel like too much attention is paid to offense. And I know, offense is kind of like the sexy aspect of basketball and not necessarily defense, but
Hmm.
defense wins you championships. Defense
Championships, ladies and
wins you
gentlemen.
titles. And time and time again, we've had teams that have been offensive juggernauts, and when it's all said and done, they falter. So, like, I'm talking about my what is it, Houston Rocket teams that we had with James Harden. I'm talking about my Phoenix Suns teams that we had with Nash. Don't get me wrong, as great as Nash was, a lot of those teams were very focused on offense more so than defense. And so, it is, I feel like it is a lost art in today's game. And I think it's also more so based on how the game is played, where, you know,
For sure.
encouraged a lot more than defense, and defense is discouraged a lot more because a lot of those rules that you could kind of get away with, you can't get away with as much these days. Um, but
Also, the actions moved in the NBA from the what's up, Ray?
good morning.
The actions moved in the NBA from a layup league to a three-pointer league in the
Yeah,
parlay and say your Warriors for sure.
yeah.
But Dikembe also, we're talking about his basketball career, but we cannot forget about his humanitarian career.
As I said,
Dikembe Mutombo did lots to promote health and healthiness in his home country. He's the NBA's lead ambassador. Really, he was the lead ambassador. You wouldn't have people like Joel Embiid if Dikembe Mutombo wasn't such a big influence on the game um, internationally. I think the Olympics wouldn't be as good as they are. We wouldn't have the. I wonder what would happen. Obviously, the Dream Team did a lot, but Dikembe was actually putting the feet on the boots on the ground with those initiatives. So
for
really good
sure.
to see.
For sure. So next up, I want to get into is Kristofferson. Of course, if we know Kristofferson, he was an award-winning musician, but also well known on the big screen as well. I know for me, for my generation, it would be the Blade films, but I know for others, there quite a few others in his filmography that he is associated with. Spillman, actually, before I punt it over to you, Spillman, because I did it, with Dikembe. I wanted to also highlight, the resume that we're dealing with Kristofferson. He's a Golden Globe winner, more than one multi Grammy Award winner. Not just with his Lifetime Achievement Award that he earned in 2014, but also for the one that the Grammys that he has earned in 1976. Let's see, 1974, and also in 1972. So just to give you just a landscape of how vast his resume is across two mediums, not just in the world of film, but also with music. What are your thoughts of his passing?
I think he was a great musical talent, also great in those Blade films. I think my mom and them will remember him from A Star Is Born. I think that was his biggest
Yes,
thing on
yeah,
TV. That's what our mamas and them would talk about.
for
But
sure.
I think he was a great actor, great musician. I'm not too big on the country, so I know some of his songs, but I'm not like, oh no, like I didn't grow up listening to him as much, but definitely a great pillar of his genre, as they would say. So they remade his movie, so it must have been good. Um, Somebody said, no, no, we can make this again with Gaga, and we can make lots of money, and that's
Not
what they did.
Gaga, not
Gaga.
Gaga, Gaga.
So
uh,
I like to say it, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, real sad to see him go. I think was he on Austin Powers? I don't know.
I mean, you can look that up. It doesn't.
I'm
I don't
looking it up.
recall him being on Austin Powers, but then again, I haven't seen Austin Powers in a minute, so he may. I mean, if memory
Maybe.
serves, I don't recall him being on there. But while you're looking at that, I
No, he
guess for
wasn't.
me, what I'll say is a lot of times, you have those instances where because of the presence that a certain person has, and even if they have like a career that far surpasses your time on this earth, which is the case with me, um because of the presence and what he brought to the character of Whistler. Because as I said, that's my generation of my introduction to Kris Kristofferson, which is crazy to believe because this Blade came out in what 1998. So as of last year, it would have been 25 years. So now it's 26 years. But be that as it may, because of the presence that he had in that film, or I should say in that franchise, um, it gave me, inspiration to look back. Because sometimes, as I said, a lot of times when a person's career far surpasses your own, and you look at something that they're in during your time, and you're like, wow, they're really awesome. I wonder what else they've done. You go back and look at other things, and I even remember watching those films back then. I remember seeing the first Blade on opening day, and my mom mentioning like, oh wow, that's Kris Kristofferson, and I remember him in country
Baby,
music.
baby,
So
he was in Stars Born.
yeah. So I was like, huh? I was like, oh, okay. He must have some prior history that I'm just not aware of, that I need to educate myself on. So um I didn't go over any of the details. I know previously I had mentioned with Mutombo that Mutombo had passed away due to brain cancer. No details were provided in this case. Passed away at the age of 88. But
He hung
man,
in there, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty long. 88, pretty good.
yeah.
Pretty
But
good.
man,
Also,
Titan
speaking of people that stuck in there a long time, shout outs to Jimmy Carter on 100, baby. Shout outs to Jimmy. Shout outs. Happy birthday to you, sir.
for
A
sure,
100.
for sure.
Yeah.
But all right, so switching gears again. Rest in peace to Kris Kristofferson. As I said, it's going to be a bittersweet show on this edition of This Week in Pop Culture, just out of just the rarity of the number of people that we had pass away over the past of this week. Um, so switching gears, the next one that I want to be able to get into is none other than John Amos. Let me bring him up. See if I can get
Damn, damn,
TV's
damn.
TV's dad. What
Yeah.
are we talking of? What Good Times. We were talking of Coming to America, Roots. Like, I mean, so many iconic projects that he was a part of, and that he provided his talents to. And again, if we're talking about the going down the list of the resume, I mean, again, just like our prior person that we had talked about with Kris Kristofferson, it is vast in terms of if we're talking about being a TV Land award winner, if we're talking about uh you know just the legacy of what he's done with those characters that have produced not only numerous spinoffs because of the impact of Good Times, and I hate to say it for better or for worse, because I'm not a huge fan of what they've done with the Good Times legacy. I don't know if you're aware of this filming of the cartoon that they have, but
They got a cartoon now?
they do.
Is it on Peacock?
But
I think I saw that and it was like,
yeah,
what are y'all
yeah,
doing here?
it's a
What's
little
going on?
questionable. It's a little
What's going
questionable,
on?
but be that as it
You say
may,
it's a little
that
strelly?
aside,
Let's
I was
say
gonna
it's
say that
strelly. Yeah.
aside,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have no Hollywood or the idea wouldn't be there to continue that story if it wasn't for the impact that Amos had in the initial show. Same goes for Coming to America, of having that legacy and us getting a sequel years and years later. But the original, of course, being such a classic, and it's crazy. We were just talking about not too long ago, a couple of weeks back, of James Earl Jones passing away, and now I know that it's been hitting the internet. I don't know if you've seen this filming where they showed the picture of both of them from Coming to America, and I think
Hmm.
there's that comment of like, this hits different. It definitely hits different now. Of now having those two uh, um, two massive paternal figure, those fathers, now
Yeah.
passing away. So, what are your thoughts? Where do you stand with it?
Um, shouts out to his family. There has been, some sad things about his passing because we're just finding out about it, but he passed
Yeah,
away in October or in August, they
August,
said.
August,
This
yes,
is October now, yeah. But, sad to see him go. Um, little known, he played football for a little while. He bounced around the league. He played for Colorado State. That's pretty cool. Um,
for sure.
yeah, but I think his biggest role to me in my life is probably as the guy from McDowell's on Coming to America.
Yeah,
Um, that's classic. Obviously he's got lots of bit stuff. He did a lot of TV work, a lot of stuff, but definitely like you said, Black America's daddy for sure. I feel like he is not like how they say like Danny Glover's always evil in movies, except for like Lethal
yeah,
Weapon. He's like
yeah.
the good Danny Glover kind of.
Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. Um,
Yeah.
I guess for me on my end is just to think of the idea of stereotypes, right? And I know we were talking about his filmography of being in Roots, and to so oftentimes when we're talking about a lot of roles that people of color play, it's always, I hate to say it, slaves or gangsters or, a lot of those stereotypical roles. And while the characters were not rich on Good Times, I appreciated the fact that it showed, a father, a person of color, a black father who was, not a stereotype, and someone who was capable, someone who was, reliable, among, his family, that his family could rely upon him. He wasn't, a deadbeat that was like, out there in these streets and doing
Hmm.
other, crazy things. And so, even though, Good Times, again, before my time, it still comes on TV. So, I still, even growing up, had opportunity to look back at those episodes of that show and still appreciate, that character. Same goes for, Coming to America too, because for with Coming to America, again, film that was slightly, maybe by a few years before me. I'm again aging myself. Uh if memory serves, because Coming to America was what, 84? Was it 84?
No, that's like 87, bro.
87? Oh, okay. Then no.
Yeah.
Then I was around, but wasn't thinking about movies at that time. I
No, yeah, for
wasn't
sure.
I wasn't intellectually at a point where I was thinking of movies at that time, but would again revisit it because it would come on TV, all the
Actually, it was
time.
88, so yeah, you were
Yeah.
definitely out here. He was
Yeah. I
lucid.
was I was out here. I was out here, but I wasn't thinking about, Coming to America at that time. I think I was still in that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle phase, if memory serves.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But be that as it may, also I still had a chance to go back because it was one of those films that would come on all the time.
All
So,
the time, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
would have an opportunity many times to appreciate that film and to be able to quote many of the, excellent quotes, from that film, and the many of the iconic scenes from that film. So uh
Son, if you're on, I'm gonna tell you this one time. If you're on that drugs, leave him alone.
yeah, as
Oh,
you said,
also,
yes.
he was the evil sergeant in Die Hard 2 that took place right here at Dulles
Oh,
International
right.
Airport.
That's right. And I should know that. You said Die Hard 2, right? Because
Die
that was like
Hard
what?
2.
Yeah, I should know that because that's my first rated R film. We've talked about this on the show. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, like I said, iconic iconic presence on not just the small screen but also on the big screen, as well as just pointed out, because now that you mentioned, yeah, I do recall that.
Yeah. He was in a lot of
Other
stuff,
character
man. He was in a
there.
lot of stuff. He was in the first black exploitation film. He was in Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, which is
Oh man,
crazy.
man, you taking me back. You taking me
That's
back
crazy,
there.
ladies and
You
gentlemen.
taking me back. You taking me
This
back.
is a giant of black cinema.
You are taking me back. But yeah, as you said, it is unfortunate, the circumstances of learning about his passing, of just now knowing about it, um seeing that it happened back in August, him passing away at the age of 84. But uh you know still condolences to his family, his friends, and you know quite an incredible legacy, as I said, that he has left behind, in terms of what he's done in his career. Um, and I didn't mention this either. Passed away of natural causes, according to the story. Okay, so
Allegedly.
oh boy, all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
getting into our next next story, and this is surrounding John Ashton. Of course, if you know Beverly Hills Cop, John was a major staple of that trio that we had. If we're talking about the world of Beverly Hills Cop, of course, playing, hard nosed by the book detective, sidekick of, Axel Foley. He passed away peacefully this past Thursday. What you say? He passed away over this past week, battling again, unfortunately, as we had mentioned before, with someone else with due to cancer. But in terms of the legacy that he leaves behind, an incredible career, in terms of what he has done, not just with the on the small screen, but also on the big screen as well, with films that he has been a part of, whether we're talking about the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, of course, among many others. Spillman, what are your thoughts on the passing of John Ashton?
Oh, I really like John Ashton in Beverly Hills Cop. The awesome scene where they're at the gentleman's club, and he's really in his element there, which is funny to me. I think I
Yeah.
liked it. I like that he was ready for Axel Foley's shenanigans. He was like, "Yeah, they can't really fire us. We're police officers. We're supposed to get the bad guys. That's all we really care about." So I do. Sad to see him go. Obviously, Big C is a horrible thing, but he had a great career. Never heard anything crazy about him. Didn't hear about him like going to any kind of strange rallies or anything. So that's good. Sad to see him go. Shouts to his family, I guess. I only really remember him from the Beverly Hills Cop, which is obviously a classic. So
Yeah.
if I could be remembered for such a feat, that would be fine. But yeah, sad to see him go. How do you feel about it?
I mean, similarly, it's sad to see Mr. Ashton go. Thankfully, as a I know for a long time they were trying to produce the newest installment of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, and it just recently released, where we were able to get a lot of the OG characters back. So you know in terms of the legacy that was left behind, incredible, filmography. I was trying to recall, because there was one that came to mind, even outside of Beverly Hills Cop, that I do recall him being a part of, outside of that particular franchise that you have with, I want to say it's with Robert De Niro and brain farting on it right now, but trying to see if I could pull it up really quickly. But again, as you said, even outside of that, if we're talking about Beverly Hills Cop, when we're talking about the comedy that works in that film, it doesn't work without the straight man that you have playing opposite of Eddie Murphy. If all of our characters are goofy and silly, then like the comedy in that film doesn't, or I should say in that franchise, doesn't. doesn't work at all. And so, he has a role that he plays within that trio, as I mentioned, in Beverly Hills Cop, that allows a lot of that comedy to work. So, because a lot of, what is making some of the things funny is because his character is such a straight arrow of, doing things by the book and not really improvising things. His reactions a lot of times are the things that make a lot of those scenes funny, of him reacting off of what Axel Foley is doing in a lot of those scenes.
For
So,
sure.
um and then also similarly, with his partner, in that film,
Judge Reinhold.
yeah, Judge Reinhold. So a lot of that, their dynamic works because he is, kind of the kind of stuffy, older partner that, is has to sometimes he relies upon those two characters to kind of loosen up, and that humor sometimes comes also from him being so stuffy and so, rigid. So yeah, um I can't say enough about Beverly Hills Cop. I'm still trying to Midnight Run. That's what was brain farting what the name of the film was, but with Midnight Run and
No
what
Googles,
that
ladies and gentlemen. He came up
so
with that just by himself just now. I'll tell you that he's a genius when it comes to this stuff. I'm
no,
awed by
no,
him
I
every
will
week.
say I had to pull it up. I had to pull that up. That's what I was doing. I was pulling it up while I was speaking with you guys because I couldn't pull what the name of that film was. I remember who he was starring opposite of, but I just couldn't remember. But it's a classic, Midnight Run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shout out to John Ashton. Again, condolences to his family and friends. Unfortunate that that he has passed away, uh, and aside from him passing away, again, as we have as the title of the show, icon in terms of what he has done on the small screen as well as on the big screen. So last but not least, that I want to be able to highlight on the show in terms of icons that we had passed this week, it would be Ken Page. If you don't know Ken Page, he is an icon on the stage, in the world of theater. If we're talking about the legendary show of Cats, but also if your animated films, he was Oogie Boogie in Nightmare Before Christmas. So that song, that famous song, Oogie Boogie song, is sung by Mr. Page. And just to give you just some further insight in the page, and outside of Cats, outside of Nightmare Before Christmas, he also joined the stage, which you can see there in the picture there, in the Broadway production of The Wiz, Ain't Misbehaving, and many more. um Again, icon in the world of theater, an icon, in the talents that he brought in many of the projects that made its way onto the big screen, passing away at the age of 70. Spillman, I know that you're not particularly super in well versed or in tuned with a lot of the things that happen on stage, but I'm sure you have seen Nightmare Before Christmas. So what are your thoughts on his passing?
I actually have to disagree with you on this one, my friend, because my grandmother had a tape version of Cats that we would listen to on repeat whenever we were in our car.
Oh, okay, excuse me.
My
All right, cool.
sister famously would be like, "Put the Cats on," and I'd be like, "Please don't put the Cats on. I don't want to. I don't want to hear Calico Cats in the night. The Calico Cats again." So no, actually, I'm real versed in the works of Mr. Ken Page. I think he was in the Wiz on the original one. I don't think he was the Wiz. He wasn't the lion in the movie, was he? I don't think so.
No, no, he wasn't.
No, no, no. But still, obviously he's done a lot on the stage. He's more of a stage actor than a film actor, but his credits long, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm like really sad to see Kim Page go. One of the pillars of black the black theater. So to be on the original version of the Wiz is kind of like you know I don't maybe a Hammerstein play or something like that. Like it'd be up there with those like on that level because like to be on the first thing of the Wiz is just crazy, ladies and gentlemen. I to be on something that they adapted and put Michael Jackson in when Michael Jackson was the biggest pop star in the world is crazy, super crazy. So like I'm just just sad to see his passing. Obviously, great song with Oogie Boogie on Nightmare Before Christmas. So yeah, sad to see him go.
For sure,
Um,
for sure. I guess what I'll say is this, probably more so than you, Spillman, is because of because we were making we were commenting on it a little earlier that we were doing a couple of virtual shows, not like this, but kind of uh slightly, it was slightly different just because I wasn't physically here. I was on assignment at a couple of cons, like back to back weekends, and one of those shows that that I'm fortunate enough to be able to moderate for is for shows such as Colorado Springs Comic Con, Rhode Island Comic Con. They're all a part of those shows are all under the same umbrella, and so when we're talking about those shows, a lot of times, some of those guests, may go to more than one show. And so this past year, among those said shows that are all affiliated together, Kim Page was there. And so, as a moderator, a lot of times, you're backstage a lot, you're um back, in the green rooms, chatting with some of the guests, even if you may not necessarily be doing their panel or their Q&A. You'll still be able to socialize a little bit and talk with them a little bit, maybe before they start their panel or after the panel ends. And Kim would be someone that I would talk to on more than one occasion. And I want to say the last time I had a chance or opportunity to speak with him was in July, because it was for what was it? It was for Contropolis, New Jersey, which was this past July. It was this past July, and couldn't be a nicer person, considering how, as we were talking about with many of the prior folks before, such an icon, such a incredible uh lists among his credits in terms of what he has done in his career. And it was great to be able to talk with him and say, hey, like, I really do appreciate what you have done in not just on the stage for the productions that I've had an opportunity to see, because I have had an opportunity to see cats on stage, but also to check out um Nightmare Before Christmas, because Nightmare Before Christmas, again, aging myself, I was a kid, and I remember seeing it in theaters uh more than once. I actually saw it a couple of times, and one of the highlights was that villainous character of Oogie Boogie. So again, as I said, couldn't have been a nicer person, couldn't have been a more gracious person. Really funny, really funny, great sense of humor. So he will be missed. It'll be a bummer not to have him continue on that con circuit that I a lot of times do the panels for. So yeah, yeah. Unfortunate to have the passing of Kim Page. Any final thoughts, Spelman?
no, just sad to see Ken Page go and all the other people. I'm excited for a long weekend of sports. I'm excited for that. Oh, it's Community Day on Pokemon Go today, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a Pokemon Go fan, hit me up. I guess Brandon. Okay, yeah.
Nope,
Mm,
still here. I'm
yeah,
good.
okay, cool.
But yeah, no, for sure. Again, unfortunate to have the passings that we've had this week. So shout out again to the families, the condolences to the family and friends of those folks that we've gone down the list of, whether it's Dikembe Mutumbo, whether it's Kristofferson, John Amos, John Ashton, and last but not least, Kim Page. So um, hopefully we don't have any other weird week like we had this past week where we were losing a whole bunch of awesome folks, and we can get into some other news, but that it will do it for this week in pop culture. Before I go, as always, I want to punt it over to Spillman. Tell folks where they can find you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just remember it's the first week of October. Don't try to do any parlays. It's a weird thing to do, and you don't know sports that well to be voting on that many sports. But you can find me at Truly Spill right here on Instagram. Hit me up if you want to play the Pokemon Go community day. We're trying to get groups together, maybe online. It'll be interesting.
All right, cool. So again, want to thank Spillman, aka Spills, for being a co-host as always. I'm uh your co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, Brandon Troy. You can find me at Brandon Troy ENT on X, and also Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon, guys. Peace.
Peace, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.